Good evening. I would like to call this regular meeting of the Muscle Shoals School Board of Education to order. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Woolfolk will now do the roll call. Present.
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 Dr. Holden, we have a quorum.
All right, and I recommend approval of the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Board. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Allman. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Holden, the agenda has been approved.
All right, thank you, Dr. Davis. Next on our agenda is approval of past meeting minutes. In your package, you have the minutes from the July 25th regular meeting, and then we had two special called meetings, July 31st and August the 3rd, and I recommend approval of those minutes as presented.
Thank you, Board. The superintendent has recommended approval of the board meeting minutes as presented. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Allman. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
All right, next is under correspondence. I do have some correspondence from the Alabama Association of School Boards. We received information on some training levels that you guys as board members have reached. The letter from Sally Smith says enclosed is a list of your school board members who have achieved levels in the AASB School Board Member Academy during the 22-23 school year, which ended June the 30th. And I won't go on to read the rest of the letter, but it just basically brags on the Muscle Shoals City Schools for being committed to professional learning and professional development as a board member. And so tonight I'm going to present these. Mr. Corey King couldn't be with us tonight, but he did reach level 1 and he will get a certificate. And then Miss Sonia Allman, you've reached level 3. Let's give her a hand. Yeah. Level 3 in the School Board Member Academy. Dr. Davis has reached level 4, which comes with a plaque, which you will receive at annual convention. So when we go down to our annual convention in December, you and other board members across the state who have reached level 4 will get that plaque. So let's give Dr. Davis a hand. And then our veteran board members who have been around a little while, Dr. Celia Rudolph reached Master Board Member 3rd year, and she gets a date plate for the plaque that I know is hanging over her mantle at home. So there is your new date plaque. Let's give Dr. Rudolph a hand.
Thank you.
And then Mr. Wood, who also couldn't be here tonight, he has reached Master Board Member 5th year. So that's a great accomplishment on his part, and I'll make sure that Mr. King and Mr. Wood both get their accolades for School Board Member Academy. So with that, that's all the correspondence I have. We can move right along to business action items if you're ready, Madam President.
Yes.
All right, under the consent agenda. For the consent agenda, the board has been furnished with background material on each item or has discussed the item at a previous meeting. Consent agenda items will be acted upon with one vote without discussion. If a board member wishes to discuss any item, it will be pulled from the consent agenda and voted on separately. All we have tonight on the consent agenda are the documents from Ms. Langley in her office, the bills and accounts for July, and the July financial reports. Does any board member wish to vote on either of those things separately? Hearing none, Madam President, I recommend the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Holden. Board, the superintendent has recommended approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Allman. We have a motion and a second. Call to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Holden, the motion carries.
All right, thank you, Dr. Davis. As usual, this time of year, we have a few board policy changes to consider tonight. We subscribe to AASB's policy pipeline, And some of these recommendations tonight are from them to keep our district in line with new laws and new policies and state regulations. The first policy revision I'm recommending tonight is to policy 5.10.3 related to employee sick leave and the changes we discussed of those during the work session, and I recommend immediate approval for those tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Holden. The superintendent has recommended the revision of board policy 5.10.3, employee sick leave. Is there a motion to approve this recommendation?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Alman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. Is there any discussion?
Dr. Davis, I'll just reiterate this for the purpose of the meeting. We mentioned this during the work session, but I have already disseminated this policy out to our stakeholders. Many of them are here tonight. Some of the changes are merely cosmetic, and others have to do with bringing us in line with a new state law that was passed related to sick leave. And so unless there's a need that you all feel to table this, I'm going to recommend it for immediate approval.
Is there any more discussion? All right, unless I hear a move to table, I will call for the vote. Hearing no motion to table, we will vote now. All in favor of approving the policy change recommendation, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Holden, the revision to the sick leave policy has been approved.
All right, thank you. The next policy revision I'm recommending is 6.1.2 related to non-resident students. It merely adds one word just to clarify that a non-resident application is good for one school year and not one calendar year. I think that's always been the board's intent. This just clarifies that, and I recommend immediate approval.
The superintendent has recommended the revision of board policy 6.1.2, non-resident students. Is there a motion to approve this recommendation?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Alman. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the revision to the non-resident policy has been approved, Dr. Holden.
Thank you, Madam President. The next policy revision I'm recommending is 6.6, off-campus events. It adds language to further clarify that the board authorizes principals, assistant superintendent, and the superintendent to have the ability to approve field trips. It does not assume the responsibility, the board does not assume responsibility for the operation of vehicles that are not owned by the board. Our school board attorney felt like we needed to more directly say that in our policy, and it was a topic on AASB's policy pipeline, as I said during the work session. And again, on this one, I recommend immediate approval.
Superintendent has recommended the revision of board policy 6.6, off-campus events. Is there a motion to approve this recommendation?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Alman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Holden, the revision of the off-campus events policy has been approved.
All right, thank you, Dr. Davis. The last policy recommendation I'm making tonight is a new policy, 7.15, extended learning opportunities. We are required by law to have an ELO policy, and AASB has provided a model policy for us to consider, but I do want to give us more time to consider this. I do ask that you table this policy tonight since it's new and give the school system an opportunity to consult on this and develop a policy that's workable and best for Muscle Shoals City Schools. So I'm recommending the model policy tonight as the first step in developing that policy and would ask that you table it. So with that, I recommend.
All right, thank you, Dr. Holden. The superintendent has recommended the AASB model policy for extended learning opportunities. Is there a motion to approve this recommendation?
So moved.
Oh.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Alman. Next, the superintendent has asked that we table this recommendation for further consideration. Is there a motion to that effect?
So I'll move that we'll table this recommendation.
Thank you, Mrs. Alman. Is there a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. All in favor of tabling the recommendation to approve an extended learning opportunity policy, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Holden, the new policy has been tabled for further discussion.
All right, thank you, guys. I know that was a lot.
It was a lot.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the personnel report, and I recommend the report as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Holden. Board, the superintendent has recommended approval of the personnel report. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
Madam President, I'll make a motion that we approve the personnel report as it is presented.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Almond. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Holden, the personnel report has been approved.
All right, the personnel, for the benefit of the audience, the personnel report consists of the following. We had some supplemental assignment changes related to some late resignations that we had in the late summer. And so we had to do some moving around as far as our coaching assignments, particularly related to football. Matt Porch will become a high school assistant, and he will be replaced on the JV football coaching staff by Patrick Burke. Also, we're adding Drew Smith as our high school football AV guy, and Robert Gordon will pick up the indoor track coaching responsibilities. Also, we had a correction to the previously approved supplement amount for the AP coordinator. That amount is set by College Board and should not have been increased, and so we have moved that back to $250. Now, if AP College Board does increase it, then we will provide the AP coordinator with whatever they send. Also, Amber Hester, a position for contract music instruction at Webster and Highland Park. That's a position she held last year. That'll just be continued. Also, we have a Community Ed Extended Day Program additional temporary part-time staffing. That's also Amber Hester. She will be a site lead. Tanya Moore, one of our retirees, will continue to provide intervention at Webster. She's been doing that over this, I think this will be year 3 for her. Dwight McGee, another retiree, will continue to work as a consultant and mentor at Muscle Shoals Middle School to our science STEM teacher, and also will be working and consulting with us on the planetarium. Elaine Powers, a system-wide part-time aide bus driver. Also Kenneth Powers, system-wide part-time aide bus driver. Connor Osborne for clock keeping duties, that's hard to say, during the 23-24 basketball home games. 2 high school teachers, Tamara Counts and Holly Wade, to provide PSAT tutoring. Also, Ladarius Prince providing choreography instruction for our chorus students. Laura Opstein for a little additional supplement amount for her additional managerial duties, taking on the Early Learning Center. She's the manager there at Hal Grace Preschool, but taking on the ELC provides additional duties for her, so we are going to compensate her for that. Also, Kimberly Faith Burrow, assistant cheer coach during the 23-24 school year. Mentoring stipend changes, again, because of some of the staff changes we had in late summer. We had to tweak our mentors a little bit. Anna Kate Campbell and Eliza Ritter will be added to that mentoring list, and we are removing Kathy Belote. Under our nurse substitute list, Molly Kate Holloway will be added to our nurse substitutes pending background clearance. We have a large number of certified staff members who are also certified bus drivers. We're just approving them to potentially be compensated for additional bus driving duties that takes place outside of their regular contract days and hours, and I sent you guys some information on that. In addition to the bus driver substitute list, Jimmy Michael, and then also for information only, not for board action, high school science teacher, a medical leave of absence starting September the 25th for 4 to 6 weeks, and that's flexible with medical needs. And then under the Kelly Services staffing, I'll name these off, but these are all the individuals who are filling various full-time paraprofessional roles or aid roles throughout the district. Most of these, or maybe even all of them, fall under our Student Services Department. But at Howard Graves, we have Glenna Ritchie and Elizabeth Lambert. At Webster, Kelsey Flanagan and Erica Tate. Highland Park, Gabriel Goodlow, McBride, Shannon Butler, and Hazel Schultz. At the middle school, Kimberly Cromwell, Natalie Springer, and Kelly Benson. And at the high school, Christy Schnerner and Jamie Boston. And with that, that is the personnel report. Right, ready for the next item? All right, let's move on into the superintendent's report. We did have a relatively smooth start to the school year. I thank everybody for their work kicking off another school year. You know, we had the normal traffic congestion that you have in the first few days of school, but I think a lot of that has kind of worked itself out across the district. Fall sports are underway. Hopefully you've gotten a chance to see some either fall football or volleyball or cross country, because I know they've all competed and had their first events. The marching band did a great job Thursday night. So everything's in full swing at this point, and so we're excited to. It's one of my favorite times of the year. I don't know about y'all, but I love fall activities, period. and I'll be even more glad when that fall weather gets here. So, but just a few congratulations. I do want to congratulate our fourth grade teacher, Miss Rita Malone, and I think all of you were able to be with us the other day. She has been selected as the Teacher of the Month in the little voting competition, or whatever you want to call it, that the Shoals Chamber of Commerce, in conjunction with Northwest Shoals and also Treehouse Dentistry, partner with them on that. And they surprise, and it's so fun. We've done it a couple of times in our district, and from what I understand, we're going to have some more of those in a few months. So, but we were super excited to be there at McBride the other day when Rita was surprised, and her family was there, and city council people were there. But it's a fun thing to do. But I do appreciate them recognizing the great instruction that's going on in Miss Malone's classroom. I said this during the budget hearing. I just want to say it again for the record to Miss Langley and her staff. Great job on the budget presentation tonight. And I know it's a lot of work, a lot of extra hours goes into that. And we just appreciate the hard work that you're putting into that. Our first school holiday is just around the corner. I know people are excited about that. Labor Day is this weekend. Hopefully we'll get a little bit cooler weather for that. I did want to ask you to mark your calendars for September the 19th at 6 o'clock. There will be a ceremony at Muscle Shoals Middle School, a ribbon cutting and what I'm calling a grand reopening maybe of the planetarium. It's something that's kind of been on the school system's radar for a lot of years, and it's been a priority for Miss Ritter. It was a priority for some of her predecessors as principal at Muscle Shoals Middle School. And there's been a lot of work done over there and an investment made both at that school level, and the school district has also invested some funds over there. So we're excited about that. 6 o'clock, there'll be a ribbon cutting, and then we'll be there for a couple of hours. They're going to open up the planetarium to let you tour it, and hopefully the dome will be open, and we may be able to look out into the nether regions, right? The sky. So we look forward to that. And I do want to make a brief comment, about the incident last night that, has made the news today. Obviously, everybody in the room knows, and others do because it's out there. But, we did have a middle school student that, made a bad decision and made a threatening post inside a text thread that caused some concern in the community. And but I do want to acknowledge the middle school administration and our police department. They were quick to act and to diffuse that situation. I know the police department spent a lot of hours last night, way past, a lot of us were already in bed, and the police department were still looking into this situation and making sure that our schools were safe places for our students and staff to be today. And I just appreciate that so much. It shows you just how quickly hitting send on a text message or whatever it is, or a post, something inappropriate can cause a lot of work and a lot of stress on a lot of people, who their responsibility is to make sure our schools are safe, and they did that, and my hat is off to them. I also appreciate, the contact we received was from a parent who was monitoring their child's cell phone, who was monitoring messages they received, monitoring their social media, and that sounds like a novel idea, right? I mean, we need to do that. We need to monitor what our kids are doing on these devices that are great, but they also make our lives kind of hard sometimes. But it can really be a great help and a great deterrent for parents to do that and help us with that kind of thing. And then the last thing, another positive. I mentioned the accolades or the achievements that you guys as board members have been recognized for by the Alabama Association of School Boards. We have a special presentation. I'm going to ask Ms. Nichols to come up and join us. At Institute, we recognize the service, the longevity of service of our employees who have worked for Muscle Shoals City Schools for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years and beyond. And we also recognize employees who have retired from Muscle Shoals, who continue to work in some capacity. And I count you guys among those. And we gave those individuals a Trojan Hero pin. And we see our board as heroes, and we thank you for your service to Muscle Shoals City Schools. So at this time, Ms. Nichols is going to give you a Trojan Hero pin.
Thank you. Awesome.
And
So much.
you can wear that proudly. Just like I'm not wearing mine, sorry. You had to point that out. You had to point that out. Look at her. She has it on every day, I think, so absolutely.
No.
Yeah. And
That's
where is yours?
awesome.
Where is
Thank you
yours?
so much.
that's right. You haven't been around long enough. That's right. That's right. But thank you so much for your service. And with that, Dr. Davis, that's all I have.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the pins. too.
Absolutely.
This is wonderful. Well, with that, if no other board member has anything to say, this long, long meeting and long day, it will come to an end. I'll
right.
call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.